Welcome to Strategy Forward. This is our fall forum on governance. And you may know that this fall forum sold out faster than any fall forum in history. So thank you for signing up quickly and being here. I know it's not just because we're talking about strategy. I think one of the main reasons people come to the fall forum is because you are able to connect with old friends. And that's what you're able to do right now. So it's good to have that opportunity as we kick off. I just want to do some quick mapping. How many people here are here for their first fall forum ever? Raise your hand. All right. Let's hear a round of first timers, a good number of first timers. How many of you are have come to the between 2 and 5 fall forums? Raise your hand. All right, and how many of you have come to more fall forums than you can possibly count? All right, Mark Masterson raised his hand right away. I also want to give a special shout out to the trustees who are here. If you could just raise your hands, that would be... This really is such a remarkable opportunity to get away from your offices and to come together and realize how much we have in common as a national theater community, and that's what we're going to be doing over the next few days. I also think you know that we really like to start out, and on this first evening, ground our discussions in the art. That's why we're here, to make great art and to support the making of great art in our theaters. So first of all, this is the first time we've actually had our kickoff in a theater, and it's wonderful to be in Joe's Pub, which is named for the great Joe Papp. And I want to thank our friends here at the Public for hosting us. And I'm also really thrilled about the artist you're going to be meeting tonight. To introduce him and also to tell you a little bit more, I'd like to ask Patrick Willingham, who is the Executive Director of the Public, to join me on stage.
Hey everybody, I'm Patrick Willingham, as Teresa said, the Executive Director of the Public Theater, and I am so happy to be welcoming everybody tonight to Joe's Pub and to the event. I know lots of you have theater that you're hoping to get to, so we'll try and make... Oh. What happened? Oh, I thought I was talking for a second. Oh wait, I am. I'm talking. I knew something was going on back there. I couldn't see what was happening. We're back. So I know some of you have theater tickets. We're working to get you out of here, but please come down if you don't have a seat and enjoy yourself. I just want to say on behalf of Oscar Eustace, my partner and artistic director, and on behalf of our board of trustees, I'm so happy to welcome all of you to the Public Theater and to Joe's Pub. I thought I would just take an opportunity now to talk to you guys about 5 things that I absolutely love. One of those things happens to be the Public Theater, this great institution that you're sitting in right now. I think a lot of you know that this place got started in 1954 when Joe Papp began the New York Shakespeare Workshop and was traveling around throughout all the 5 boroughs of New York City, putting on performances of Shakespeare for all sorts of people. The idea was that culture belongs to everyone. That culture wasn't something that just the elite should have access to, or people who had a certain amount of money or came from a social class. That was a revolutionary idea in 1954 in New York City. And I'm so proud to say that that's an idea that we carry through with today. In 1967, we got the building that you are sitting in today. This was originally the Astor Public Lending Library. It was the first lending library in New York City, and it was built in 1850. In 67, it had been derelict and shut down for a number of years. We took it over, and we now have in this space 5 performing venues and Joe's Pub, which opened just 6 years ago. And then, of course, the jewel in the crown of the Public Theater is the Delacorte Theater in Central Park, where we perform Shakespeare and the highest quality of Shakespeare for free to 100,000 people every single summer for the last, thank you very much, the last 53 years of the Delacorte. I love the Public Theater, and I consider myself very blessed to be co-leading this place with Oscar Eustace. The second thing that I love is the place you're sitting in right now, Joe's Pub. Joe's Pub Again, been here for 15 years under the unbelievable leadership of Shanta Thake, who's the director. Yes! For those of you who know her, she is extraordinary. So lucky to have her. We're so lucky to have this space, and it really just illuminates that idea that is at the heart of what Oscar Eustis is doing now, which is identifying that theater is a really large tent, a lot of things fit underneath that tent. Cabaret is one of them, and being able to present some of the best music, some of the best cabaret in the entire planet is what this place is all about, and we're so blessed to have this as one of our 7 performing venues. So I love Joe's Pub. Third thing I love TCG. I really, really do. I really, really do. Really, really. One of the very first meetings, I was wandering in the for-profit wilderness for the better part of 2 decades, completely lost. And I got this job 4 years ago, and one of the very first meetings I took was with Teresa Eyring. And I have to tell you, I've said this to her a million times and other people quite often, that it was a moment when I realized there are colleagues scattered throughout the country that I can now connect with. And TCG has done such a beautiful job of doing that for me, as I think it has for all of you. I've gotten to be involved in so many things, and I've gotten the theater involved in so many things over the last 4 years, from Audience Revolution to the Innovation Lab that happened with EMC and Doris Duke, to Spark Leaders, the Young Leaders of Color, like really absolutely incredible programs, and I'm sure that you feel as I do, so lucky to be able to be a part of this field that's serviced by such an incredible, incredible institution as TCG, with Teresa and all of her fabulous, fabulous staff. I love TCG. Only 2 more things, I swear to God. I only love 2 more things in my entire life. One of those is strategy. Guys, I love strategy. It's almost sick how much I love strategy, and you cannot imagine when I saw that the Fall Forum was about strategy, how my little eyes lit right up, and how I was one of the first people to register for what is now this sold-out strategy forum. It's going to be awesome. I have my team doing a little bit of whatever they are, the breakout sessions that are happening. We're in the 2nd set. If I don't see you there, I'm going to be very sad and disappointed. But I'm really excited to not only talk about strategy with you guys, I'm also excited to learn about it. Our associate artistic director said to my full staff at an all-staff meeting, without a stable plan in place, artistic stability and growth is not possible. And I thought, man, that's fucking awesome. That's my associate artistic director, who really gets that in order to ensure that we're able to deliver our mission in the right way, we've got to have a solid foundation, and I believe strategy is that. So I cannot tell you how excited I am to be here dealing with strategy. And the 5th thing that I super duper love is Miss Meiyin Wang. Meiyin Wang, yes! Yes, Meiyin Wang, for those of you who don't know, has been the co-director of the Under the Radar Festival for the last several years. She is also the director of our Devised Theater Initiative, and heartbreakingly, Meiyin is leaving us in February because her fabulous husband got a job in California, and they're moving with their baby across the country soon. So, for the next couple of months, we have Meiyin here. I'm so delighted. She's not only a terrific member of our staff, someone that Oscar and I turn to for inspiration and guidance all of the time. She's also a board member of TCG. Lucky you! And she is going to be here tonight interviewing Mr. Ivo van Hove. And so I think you are going to enjoy the conversation that they have. And once again, everybody, thanks so much for being here. Thanks for being at Joe's Pub. I'm looking forward to seeing many of you throughout the weekends. Enjoy.
Hello, mic check. Hi, everybody. So let's just get straight into it. This is Ivo van Hove. Mic check. I am talking. Okay, great. So let's get straight into it. So when I think about your work, Ivo, I think about many things, but 2 things in particular. One is the iconic image, sort of the thing that distills the text for me. So for example, with View from the Bridge, to give it away, the body's right in the end with the blood.
You cannot tell that.
I'm sorry, I just did. Sorry. it is a surprise whenever it happens or doesn't happen. And then the second thing I think about is the space you create for actors to be so vulnerable, to take physical and psychic risks, in a sense, and how you create a universe in which they can do that. So I guess my first question is, how do you create that space for the actor to be vulnerable and to take risks?
Well, first of all,
Mic check.
okay, am I on? Yeah. No? Okay. So, okay, now I'm on.
Sorry, Devin. Oh, that wasn't for. We have body mics. Oh, okay. All right.
Can you hear me now?
Let's use this then.
Should I use this one?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, good. Okay, here we go. First of all, we create a real space. That's where it all starts with, because I think that's what the director to get together with the scenographer, that's the first decision in what kind of space a certain play. You create a house, a home for the actors. And we take it really very serious because Jan Verswijf, who was my scenographer for over 35 years now, we did everything together. We take this very serious because also when I get at home now after this talk, I want to be at home. I want to feel good. And if an actor feels good in a space, that means that his body will relax and he will be open to a lot of suggestions. And the mental space, of course, that's the second thing, because it's also equally important. I do that. Well, I'm kind of a person who can also be very temperamental, but with actors, people say I'm quite patient, so I can wait, and I push also, but not too often. And people think when they see my theater, because it tends to be intense physically and mentally and psychologically and emotionally, they think I'm a kind of bully director, which I'm totally not. I can, it's really true. But it is true. I can really be patient, and I learned that from, I don't know if that name is, it was a very famous, actually an English director, but he worked for most of the time of his life in Germany, Peter Zadek. He is dead now for some years already. But I was at a kind of talk like this years ago, and he told a story during that talk about an actor who was really doing a bad job, according to him. And he rehearsed, as I do, always in costume, in a set that's almost finished, so that's also what I love to do. And he started talking about this actor, and then he said that on a certain day, his shoes were not there. His shoes that were part of his costume. And he had his own shoes, let's say red shoes, I don't remember that. And Peter Zadek said that day he was fabulous. He was really so good. Next day he came back, the shoes were there, the normal shoes. Terrible. He was there. And then Peter Zadek thought, what should I do? And he said, I waited. And on a certain day, this actor came into the rehearsal room and he said to Peter Zadek, Peter, do you remember the day, that my shoes were not there? I thought I was quite well that day. Should I not wear the shoes that I had on that? And Peter Zadek said, yes. And that's what it is. That's what directing can be, patience. And to wait for an actor to make his own decision. And of course, when it's not coming, you have to find strategic, as I heard it, it's about strategy. A strategic way, you have to find your way about getting there. You have to give an actor always the impression that everything what he does on stage, he has found himself. He has to be himself on stage, otherwise you don't believe him.
And is that the main strategy? Just in terms of the waiting and the patience? Is there any other strategies you do in terms of directing an actor towards a particular choice? Are there particular choices that you always think are important?
It's I'm a kind of director, I have no system. I'm not a guru. Yeah, but there's a lot of people that are gurus and have a system, and it's perfect, you know. And you join that system, and then you're part of it, and they do the. But I don't do that. For me, I'm now working with Michael C. Hall and with Christy Milioti, for instance. These two persons are totally different actors. So I talk to Kristen in the way that I think she wants to be talked to, and with Michael C. Hall, I do it in a totally different way. So I try to feel how an actor or an actress, how he wants me to communicate. Some actors want a lot of explanation. Some actors just want that you say, well, sit there and start and let me see, and then I will react. So but that's a really very intuitive thing.
As some people know, most people know, you also run Toneel Group Amsterdam, and before that you were also running the Holland Festival. And so one of my questions was, how do you take these strategies of your artistic practice? Does it actually, do you take them into your managing and leading, really, of an institution?
I think, well, I'm also general manager of Toneel Group Amsterdam, which is in Holland the biggest institution for theater you can have. That means we have subventions. We of course have also ticket sales, sponsors, things like that. So it's a budget. We play an amount of 350 performances a year for more or less 120,000 people a year. Not only in Amsterdam, we play all over the world. We were during the last month. We were in Poland. We were in Philadelphia. We were in New York. Last year, I told you, we were in Taipei. You know, we traveled the world from Australia everywhere. So that's what we do. So I have 100 people who are fully employed, and I have average of 150 freelance contracts going on every season. So that's a little bit the scope of it. So of course, the patience that I have in my actors, sometimes I cannot have as a general manager of the company. But I think my main job, because I work with a team, I have a management team, it's normal, and I think my main job is to have the vision, to look not at the day of today, because that's what my management team is taking care of, except for when there's a problem, a specific problem, and of course then we talk about it. But I think what a big institution needs is a vision. So in order not to get like, oh, it's going well, we are a big institution, we have 120,000 people every year, you know, it's going fine. You know, that's not what you should do. You should always try to get further, to get further than you think the horizon is at this moment. And I consider that as my main job, actually. But of course, at the same time, I have to know my yesterday morning, I do now, because I'm here directing, doing everything by Skype. So management team by Skype, talking to there's also an organization within the company that represents technicians. Yesterday I did that, you know, talking about very complicated issues. You have to know your things, but at the same time, I learned, because I started young and perhaps a little bit too young. In the beginning, I thought when you have a vision, then everybody goes for it. And I said, follow me, because look at what I think we could do. That doesn't work. You all know that. I had to learn. It doesn't work. And I learned a lot, you know, and because you need also commitment on all levels of the organization. And that's of course my advantage, because I'm also a director. I direct 2 big pieces a year. So I'm in a great position that I also work with technicians, that I work with people on big production teams, and I work with them on a daily basis, hours a day, so I know what their problems are. And if they have a problem, it's also my problem, because I'm the director, you know. And that's, for me, I think, but perhaps you will not agree with this, but I think it's still the best that theater institutions are run, that should be run, how do you say it? Run by artistic persons.
So your shows are not easy, let's say. They're not warm and fuzzy. They really sort of take the a moment or an idea to the extreme. This is my reading of it. So and it was such a joy to me that A View from the Bridge is on Broadway. Not what you call, it's not something that you would necessarily imagine as commercial, but it's on Broadway. And everybody should go see it. Ivo, like, Ivo is, you have a show on Broadway, you're working on Lazarus and New York Theater Workshop, you just had, Antigone was at BAM, you have Crucible going on Broadway, you have more New York gigs than a New York director. So I was just
I invited Sam Gold in my company now, so
and so I was wondering what your thoughts were about what about your work connects with American audiences.
I love America. Everybody knows it. I live here also partly in the village already for 7 years. I work at the New York Theater. I'm a very loyal guy. Once you have me, you don't get rid of me because I work at the workshop since 1997. I think this is my 8th or my 9th show over there. Every 2-3 years I did a show. I love American playwrights. It was my first Arthur Miller View from the Bridge because I did a lot of Eugene O'Neill, I did Tennessee Williams, I did Chuck Mee, I did Tony Kushner. So I love American playwrights, I love American culture with its advantages and disadvantages. So I feel, culturally part of this society, and of course at the same time a total outsider. So therefore I'm so grateful that View from the Bridge. Yeah, and it's crazy, of course, because now I'm suddenly this Arthur Miller guy during this celebration year here of Arthur Miller, which is scary also because A View from the Bridge started really in the Young Vic Theater, right? It's a 500-seat theater, and I wasn't even aware that transfers existed, to West End. And I was totally relaxed about it. It went very well with the actors. I think we had a simple idea about the play, but which also in the rehearsals immediately worked very well. It went so smooth, and then suddenly there was this transfer to the West End, which was already a big deal. And then in London, and that struck me, they called it a game changer for producers, because no producer can say now that adventurous work cannot be accessible for a large audience, because A View from the Bridge in London was sold out every night in the West End. I don't know what will happen here now, we'll see that, but anyway, and that's also talking about the mission, that's because they call me here, they love to call me the bad boy avant-gardist. This Belgian bad boy avant-gardist. But in Europe, I make theater always in Broadway theaters, not in commercial circumstances, but for big audiences. It's here that I work at the workshop, which I also adore and love to do, but I'm used to large audiences, and I always did what I think I should do, namely not try to please the audience, because I think in the long run, in the 21st century, nobody will go to the theater anymore for pure entertainment. You can have it at home. You can have it easily at home. Everything what's available. Just push the button and you have entertainment. I think people pay only a lot of money, because you pay here much more money than in Europe to go to the theater. But you pay only that money if you really want a special experience that you cannot have at home. And that's what I try to bring. That's what I try to bring by presenting them the most personal and extreme theater possible. And I think in London it has been proven that also in a commercial circumstance this can work.
A little bit on that, just in terms of the climate in theater in the U.S. Do you think that the success with American audience with this difficult work and this extreme personal work is helped by the fact that you were an outsider and an international director?
I don't think on Broadway anybody cares about that when they come to the theater.
But how about?
Well, they put me in. Well, I said this in an interview this week. I'm lucky that the press put me in a little box. And I have this little box of the avant-gardist, and actually I'm fine there. I'm doing fine. That makes that I can surprise them now.
You also direct all over the world, and I was also curious about your relationships with audiences all over the world. Who is your audience?
I have a simple answer. I don't know. Yeah, but it's hard to say and rude to say, perhaps. But sometimes you have to say the truth, the way it is. When there is now at the Lyceum Theatre 800 or 900 and 1,000 people, everybody who comes to the theatre comes for different reasons. Some people go to the theatre because they love to see great acting. Some people go to the theatre to see this play again, which they have seen already. You know, or some people, a lot of people now discover View from the Bridge also. You know, that they know it from school, and then now they can see. So, you know, some people come to see what did the director do with the play. You know, there's hundreds of reasons to go to why people go to the theater. I think as a director, I cannot even try to get to know why people come. I have to do my job very well to listen, but I consider theater as an art form. So that means that through the theater, I express what I have to say about life and about the world I live in at the moment. I express that like a novelist, he writes a novel about it, a poet writes a poem, I do it through theater. And what I only can do, and I only do that in the last week of rehearsals, I have to make it, that what my intentions were, visible and audible. You know, you have to be able to hear it and to see it. So that's the only thing I can do for the audience. And whatever people then thinks about it, if you all would come to the View from the Bridge tonight, perhaps you all would love it, I hope, but it will be for different reasons. And you have to respect that, I think. You shouldn't care about it as an artist.
Is there anything in asking are there things that you expect or demand of an audience? How they work, how they listen, how they work?
Put off their mobile. Yeah, but it's out of total respect, you know, because I respect audiences totally. It's not because, you know, because they paid money to come to see us. And we, as theatre makers, we want to be loved. We want that everybody loves what we have done. You know, that's what we want at the end of the day. It's as simple as that. We want that what we tell on stage, that's loved, that's embraced, that it's meaningful to them. That's what we want. So I totally respect. Also, when somebody walks out, I totally respect that. You know.
I read in an interview about you encountering Wooster Group in the 80s in Belgium, and you were inviting Sam Gold to your theater. That's a white spectrum. Are there any American artists that you feel like your work is in dialogue with, or that you respond to?
Well, Wooster Group was for me, when I was a young boy, I was 19, 20 at that moment, and I came to Europe. For us it was a shock. The theatre could be that. That was, because it was Point Judith with Willem Dafoe. I remember, because he was not famous at all, but I remember him, I immediately, what an actor is this? And also that you could mix this music with dance, with a play, because it was a Eugene O'Neill play, no? That was Long Day's Journey to the Night adaptation, I think. It's a long time ago. But okay, so for us, and not only for me, it was a shock that theatre could be that, because theatre in Belgium at that moment was totally dead. It was a museum piece. Nobody went, you know, it was nothing. People didn't go anymore. And that gave us the chance, inspired not only by the Wooster Group, of course, also but the young Bob Wilson at that moment. You know, making really very. I remember him doing something with Christopher Knowledge, and him alone on stage, Bob Wilson with this boy who was not able to communicate very well, and there was a communication on another level between the two. That inspired me a lot. That theater could also, without you understanding something, I mean on a rational level, that it could be an understanding on an emotional level. So the Americans brought me a lot, but also, for instance, a video artist as Bill Viola. When I saw his, a long time ago already, I don't know in what museum it was, when I saw his exhibition, which was actually staged, you could say, by Peter Sellers at that moment. I thought that was for me a life-changing experience, you know. So for me, that's also theater. That's also a theatrical event, I could say. So yes, I think, and of course, in the music, it's the minimalists like Steve Reich, like Philip Glass, that inspired not only me but also Europe a lot. America has brought Europe a lot, I think.
Yeah, and what is also striking is that your influence on sort of this coming generation of theater makers in the States also. So we have to wrap up soon, but I'll just end with this one question. Maybe it's not fair, maybe it's a terrible question. What are you preoccupied with nowadays? What are you thinking about, besides your show? Just in terms of what is the next big question you're dealing with?
Oh, but that's, I don't know, you have the same issue here, but in Europe at this moment there is, well, for instance today, I'm doing Lazarus, the David Bowie show at this moment, and it's technically a bit complicated. So today I heard somebody use the word catastrophe, you know, about something technical. No, something technical. We were in a production with Ian. And then the word catastrophe. Yeah, but the word catastrophe. And I think, well, a catastrophe is all the refugees, you know, coming from Syria, coming via Turkey, then trying to have a new life. We trying to stop them, you know, which is not possible. Other countries saying come, and we don't know how to deal with them. And it's huge in Europe. I don't know if you can imagine it, but it's like every day a lot of people, and politicians and people just don't know how to deal with it. I think that will be at this moment for the next, not only the next month, not only the next year, but for the next years, perhaps a decade. You know, that will be the big challenge for Europe. But I think, well, when I look here at television, then I hear the same about people coming in from the south and the problems with that, and how politicians in very extreme ways react to it. It's a little, I don't know if it's the same, I don't dare to say that, but in Europe it's a new phenomenon. And I always think that immigration, well, America wouldn't exist without immigration, no? No. We have to learn that it's the same, because in Europe we are all small countries, you know, very small. Belgium is like nothing. You cross it by car in an hour. That's from here to the Bronx, you know. I come from Belgium. It's nothing, you know. That's what I mean.
As an immigrant, thank you. But not to make light of the situation, but I think that one of the moving things about View from the Bridge is that they're also immigrants coming in, and what was so striking to me was to see a play by Arthur Miller sort of made so contemporary, and that I as an audience member had to work hard and have all of these, you were so successful in creating the space for me to have those associations with what is happening in the contemporary world right now. So thank you.
Thank you for that.
Okay, well, I want to thank Meiyin and really thank Ivo for taking the time to come and speak with us tonight. If you have not seen his work before, I highly recommend that you take the opportunity to do so. I personally have been a huge fan for a long time, and just seen so much of his work, not just at New York Theater Workshop, but at BAM, even in Europe. The public, Meiyin and Mark Russell actually coordinated a group of people a few years ago. We were in Holland and we got to visit the Toneel group and see Ivo's theater. So again, really appreciate their words. And I just want to remind people, tomorrow morning, we're starting up at 8:30 with breakfast at 32 Old Slip. We are starting our programming at 9. And I probably could do this instead of bending down. All right. Anyway. And for the board presidents and chair people, you know who you are. We have our annual board presidents and chairs breakfast that starts at 8. So we'll see you there. Have a great night. Enjoy your shows. Have some more drinks, food, conversation. We'll see you tomorrow.